As I grew older, I came in closer contact with the things, and I started to be able to sense them, feel them, and even smell them. The odor was not pleasant. It was a rotten smell, maybe even close to the smell like death itself. As time passed, I got more used to these beings. My senses were more effective. I could see everything, sense everything, smell everything, and be able to differentiate what was one of these beings and what was something else shared with the rest of the people around me. However, as close as I came to these beings, I could never hear them. This made me feel so desperate. I knew they were there. I could sense them. I was able to tell they were there, but the missing noise provoked an immense fear. How was it possible that with everything these beings were able to do, they still did not emit any sound? Seeing them, knowing they were there, but still unable to hear them. Soon enough, people noticed my constant state of, as they called it, paranoia, and I was sent to a psychologist. I was not paranoid, I was simply cautious, and I had to keep my senses always in full attention of what was around me, since I could not hear them, but they could get closer to me at any time when my guard was down, and do God knows what to me. Maybe convert me into one of them? Maybe they were demons trying to drag my soul into the depths of hell. Maybe they were angels of death trying to steal my life away. I had refused to attend said psychologist, but I was dragged to his so-called office, which looked more like his own apartment. The visit was quick. He asked me all kinds of questions about my life and got me to talk about my personal life. I had told him everything about my past experiences with the strange beings that haunted me. Being 25 years old and having a long history of experiences like these, most accurately ever since I can remember, did not sound too well for the doctor, and I was sent to a psychiatrist whom after the very first visit prescribed pills for me. He explained to me that the pills would help me get rid of these beings and would help me feel less stressed, and I would be able to maintain a more normal lifestyle. He did, however, warn me that those pills were not easily found, but whatever I needed more, he could provide them. And he also mentioned the effects would kick in slowly, and the more I took, the faster they would fade away. After a month of taking said pills, I could feel the difference. I felt more free, less scared, and the beings would stay away so long as I could take these pills. The pills made my life so much better. People around me would no longer call me insane or mention that I seemed paranoid. All in all, whatever the pills did to me, I knew that these things I had seen were not a product of my imagination. I knew they were real, and whenever I took them, and wherever and whenever I took the pills, they were just waiting. Waiting in the darkness of my ignorance, waiting in silence. They've always been. But of course, everything has an ending, no matter what it is. Everything ends eventually. One day, approximately 3 years after my treatment began, I ran out of pills. As usual, this wasn't a problem. All I had to do is go back to the doctor and ask for more. To my surprise, the doctor wasn't there anymore. He had disappeared. An immense fear invaded me, and I felt more worried than I've ever felt in my whole life, even when those things were around. Then it hit me. Those fucking things took him. They knew he provided me with the pills that kept them away from me. I knew the pills were not easy to find, as the doctor had already said, and those things knew it as well. I had to find more pills. Whatever the cost, I had to find more. Those things would be back again otherwise, and it might be sooner rather than later. Days passed, and as they passed, I started to see them again, but luckily for me, they started coming back slowly, as if they were reversely fading back into my life. I could see them again in the corners of my house, still hiding in the shadows, making themselves more evident as time passed. I could see them when I tried to sleep, creeping through the gap between the wall and the door of my room. I could see them again, and it did not take long for me to start feeling their presence again. The odor came back, and in less than 2 months, in which I desperately looked for more pills and the doctor, they were back. Before this torture came back into my life, I had noticed that the doctor's disappearance was not evident just for me, but the doctor had indeed disappeared. Police officers, along with his family, looked for the doctor or any clue that could drive them to him. but never found anything. In the meantime, I slowly descended back into my long-forgotten hell. This time, though, something horrible happened. The one thing that I felt before, like it was the worst thing, being able to know these things were always there, turned out to be a torture with no comparison. After the 2 months, I could start hearing them. They became louder and louder every night. They were screaming. When they did not scream, they whispered. When they didn't do one or the other, they simply talked to me, requesting me, demanding me to do horrible things. Out of all the things I could hear from the whispers were the worst, because when they whispered, ironically, they were louder and clearer than when they spoke or screamed. They did not demand me anything when they whispered. They simply whispered 4 words that caused a frightening chill that traveled from the core of my bosom straight to my chest, to the very tip of my fingers, and to my head. You cannot escape us.